the last of her kind. The sky above Virexa was always red. The air was thick, hot, and full of danger. This planet was called a death world by many species. Only the strongest could survive here. And among them, Valra was the strongest. She moved like a shadow through the burning jungle, her claws ready, her eyes glowing in the heat. Her skin was marked with old battle scars, and her heart was marked with something deeper, loneliness. Valra believed she was the last of her kind. Long ago, her people were hunted. Other species feared deathworlders. They called them monsters, wild beasts, cursed creatures. One by one, her tribe was destroyed. The weak died, and even the strong were betrayed. Only she survived. Now she lived alone in the jungle. Every day was a fight. Giant insects, poison plants, acid rains, this was normal for her. She didn't complain. She didn't speak. There was no one left to listen. But then, one night, everything changed. A loud boom shook the trees. The sky lit up with fire as something big crashed through the clouds. Valra looked up, her eyes narrowing. Smoke rose from the jungle far away. Something or someone had landed. She didn't wait. She grabbed her bone blade, leaped across rocks, and ran like the wind. The crash site was nearly a mile away, but she was fast. When she reached the area, the fire had burned the trees black. Metal pieces were everywhere. A small escape pod, half broken, lay in the middle of the crater. She stepped closer, cautious. The pod hissed and sparked. Inside, she saw something moving. It was not alien. It was not machine. It was human. The man inside had short, dark hair, pale skin, and blood on his face. He was unconscious, breathing shallowly. His clothes were torn. A strange round patch on his chest read, Earth Federation Explorer Unit. Valra's claws twitched. She had heard of humans once. Traders spoke of them. Wild, unpredictable, dangerous. Some said humans were not normal. Their homeworld was called Earth, and it was worse than Virexa in some ways. She never believed it. She looked at the man again. His chest rose and fell. He was alive. Stupid, she muttered in her alien tongue. You won't last one night. Still, she didn't walk away. She watched him from the shadows for hours. He didn't wake up. A small predator came close to sniff him. She threw a rock at it, scaring it off. The man had no idea someone was protecting him. Finally, the human opened his eyes. He groaned, tried to sit up, but gasped in pain. His leg was twisted badly. He reached for his belt, pulled out a small device, but it was broken. He looked around, confused, frightened, but not panicked. Valra stepped back into the trees. She didn't want to be seen yet. The human crawled out of the pod, dragging his injured leg. He found a branch and made a crutch. Then he looked up at the red sky and whispered something. She didn't understand his words, but his voice was calm, not scared. Then something strange happened. He took 2 rocks, hit them together, and made sparks. In just minutes, he had a fire going. Valra's eyes widened. He knew how to survive. This was not normal. No off-worlder had ever done that here. They always screamed, ran, or died. But this human, was still standing. She moved to a higher rock and stared down at him. Who are you? She whispered to herself. The human didn't see her. He just sat by the fire, eating something from a small packet. He coughed, winced, then laughed to himself. A death-worlder laugh. Valra's heartbeat changed. Maybe she was not the last, maybe. There was another, and he was human. The human who wouldn't die. The next morning, the jungle was quiet, but Valra's thoughts were not. From a branch high above, she watched the strange human below. He had built a shelter using broken metal and large leaves. His leg was still hurt, but he worked through the pain. He had fire, food, and now even a spear made from scrap. No one had ever done this before. Not here. Not on Virexa. Other off-worlders had crashed before. She had watched many die. The jungle didn't forgive weakness. The air itself could burn soft lungs. But this human, he wouldn't die. Velra dropped from the tree without a sound and began tracking silently through the brush. She didn't want to help him, but she couldn't stop watching. He limped toward a stream. There, a horned crawler beast waited in the water, 6 legs, sharp teeth, and fast reflexes. Even she avoided those. But Jack didn't. She saw him stop, study the creature. Then, he smiled. What happened next shocked her. The human picked up a heavy stone and threw it, hard and perfect. The crawler hissed and rushed at him, but Jack moved quickly, using the spear to flip it into the water. Then he stabbed it, twice. It twitched. It died. Velra's yellow eyes went wide. He had killed it like a true death-worlder. Later that day, she crept closer. Jack was roasting the crawler meat. It smelled awful, but his face lit up when he took a bite. He laughed again, loud, wild, like thunder. Something about that laugh. It reminded her of herself. Suddenly, Jack turned his head. She froze. "I know you're there," he said. Velra didn't move. "You're fast, but not quiet enough," Jack added, staring into the trees. He couldn't see her, but he knew. "Thanks for scaring off that animal last night," he continued. "Unless that was you throwing rocks at me." She narrowed her eyes. He was smarter than she thought. Jack leaned back against a tree, relaxed, as if he trusted the jungle. Or maybe he trusted her. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "I don't know if you're a ghost, a monster, or a native, but you saved me." No one had ever said that to her before. "Thank you." She stepped out of the shadows, slowly, carefully. Jack blinked. Whoa. He stood up fast, but winced in pain. "Okay, you're real." She stood tall, proud, strong. Her claws were still out, just in case. You're beautiful," Jack said without thinking. Velra tilted her head. She didn't understand his words, but his voice was calm. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Jack smiled and said, "I'm Jack." He pointed to himself. "Jack." She didn't respond. Jack tapped his chest again. "Jack." Then he pointed at her. She hesitated. Then she answered quietly. "Velra." Jack repeated. "Vel-Ra." Close enough. Suddenly a sharp cry echoed from the jungle. Velra's ears twitched. Jack gripped his spear. She knew that sound. Claw spines, fast pack hunters. More deadly than anything Jack had seen yet. Without thinking, Velra grabbed his arm and pulled him behind a tree. She crouched low, her body tense, ready to strike. Jack followed her lead, silent. Through the trees they saw them, 3 claw spines. Long jaws, armored backs, hunting as one. If they found the scent, they'd attack fast. Velra motioned for Jack to climb the tree with her. He looked at the height, then his bad leg. "I can't," he whispered. She looked into his eyes. She made a quick decision. She grabbed his arm and lifted him. Jack gasped as she pulled him up like he was weightless. She didn't stop until both of them were high above. The claw spines sniffed the air, then moved on. When it was safe, Jack let out a breath. "You saved me again," he said. Velra didn't reply. But deep inside, something was changing. She had always believed she was the only death-worlder. But now, this human, weak-looking but strong inside, he was surviving, fighting, laughing. He wasn't from Virexa, but he belonged here. Maybe she wasn't alone anymore. Maybe he was just like her. Death-world instincts. The sun on Virexa didn't rise gently. It blasted across the jungle like fire. Trees hissed as the moisture burned off. Most creatures hid in caves or mud pits. But not Velra. And now, not Jack, either. The human had started to change. Velra watched him from a stone ridge. He no longer limped like before. His leg was healing fast, too fast. His skin had begun to darken under the sun. His muscles thickened from climbing and hunting. He wasn't just surviving. He was adapting. No off-worlder had ever done that before. This morning, she saw him sharpen a spear using the teeth of the crawler he had killed. He tied it with vines, then tested it against a tree. It pierced deep. Then, he did something stranger. He smeared a thick green paste on his arms and face. Velra's eyes narrowed. That plant burned the skin of most aliens, but Jack only said, "That's better." She jumped down without warning. Jack turned fast, spear ready, but didn't attack. "Morning," he said. Velra stepped closer, looked at the green paste. "You should be in pain," she said. Jack smiled. "It keeps the bloodsuckers away. Found it by accident. Burned a little first. Then it helped." Velra stared. That paste only worked after the body rejected it once. Only creatures with extreme resistance survived it. "You're insane," she muttered. "Maybe," Jack said. "Or maybe I'm just like you." That word again. Like you. She didn't know if it scared her or excited her. Later they walked through the jungle together, half hunter, half scout. A strange pair. Deathworlder and human. Predator and something new. Jack didn't talk much. He listened, observed. He stepped when she stepped. He paused when she paused. He had learned her rhythm. Velra stopped by a deep hole. "This is the sink maw. Acid sleeps at the bottom." Jack looked in. "Reminds me of Earth's tar pits. Smells the same too." Velra narrowed her eyes. "You speak of this Earth often?" Jack nodded. "It's my home. You'd like it," she scoffed. "I don't believe you." "Why not? No other planet is like Virexa." Jack grinned. "Oh, we've got volcanoes, blizzards, giant snakes, and cities full of people who'd eat you alive if you let them." She blinked. "That's your home?" "Yep." Velra sat beside the pit. "Your people sound like monsters." "Only on the inside," Jack joked. "For the first time in years." She laughed. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Both stood up fast. A deep roar echoed, low, heavy, angry. "Run?" Jack asked. Velra shook her head. Too late. From the trees a beast emerged. 10 legs, 6 eyes, acid drool, a crater horn, a rare monster that hunted sound. Jack backed up slowly. "Let me guess. We don't want it to hear us." Velra motioned for silence. She tossed a bone far into the bushes. The horned monster turned and charged in that direction, smashing trees as it passed. Jack exhaled. "That was smart." Velra said nothing. Her eyes were focused. But then, crack. Jack's foot snapped. A dry branch. The monster stopped. It turned back toward them. "Now we run," Velra whispered. They bolted through the jungle. Jack wasn't as fast, but he kept up. Velra slashed vines and branches, clearing the path. The monster roared behind them, crashing through everything. "We won't outrun it," Jack shouted. Velra skidded to a stop. "Then we fight." Jack froze. "Are you serious?" "Yes." She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward a fallen tree with spikes. Death bark. Even the monster couldn't touch it without bleeding. Velra positioned herself beside it. "We draw it in. Dodge at the last second." Jack's eyes widened. "That's suicide," she growled. "Then think like a deathworlder. Do it, or die." The monster charged. Velra held her ground. So did Jack. At the final second, they jumped aside. The monster couldn't stop. It slammed into the death bark, piercing itself on the spikes. It thrashed, screamed, then fell still. Jack stared at the bloody mess. His chest rose and fell fast. "We killed that?" Velra nodded. "Welcome to Virexa." Jack looked at her, eyes full of new fire. "No," he said. "Welcome to the Deathworlders." Marked by the planet night fell like a curtain over Virexa. The sky turned from red to black, and the stars above began to flicker like distant warnings. Jungle sounds echoed around them. Clicks, growls, whispers in the dark. Jack sat beside a dying fire, holding a piece of broken metal. He wasn't trying to fix it. He just stared at it, lost in thought. Vaelra watched from a nearby tree. She could sense something different in him tonight. "You are quiet," she said, stepping down with a soft thud. Jack looked up. "Just thinking." "Of Earth again?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "I keep wondering if they think I'm dead, if anyone's coming." Vaelra crouched beside him. "You should not hope too much. Virexa hides everything," Jack gave a tired smile. "You're honest. I like that." She didn't know how to respond. His tone was different, gentle, not sharp like the jungle. It made her feel strange, not weak, but softer. He held up the metal piece. "This was part of my comm device. It's broken, but the core might still send a weak signal if I find a power source." Vaelra's eyes lit up. "You can call your people?" "Maybe. Or maybe I just light a fire in space and no one sees it." She looked at him closely. "If they come, will they take you away?" He didn't answer for a moment. "Would you want me to leave?" Vaelra turned away. "You are different from the others, but you belong here now. Virexa marked you." Jack blinked. "Marked me?" She pulled back his sleeve. There were small green lines across his skin. Not wounds, roots. The jungle had entered his blood, growing inside him slowly, like it did with her kind. "You are becoming one of us," she said. "Not by force, by instinct." Jack stared at the lines. "Is it dangerous?" "For most, yes, but not for Deathworlders." Jack laughed under his breath. "So this planet accepted me?" Vaelra nodded. "It sees you. You didn't run. You fought. You bled." He stood and looked at the stars. "Maybe Earth was never my home. Maybe this is where I was meant to be." She stepped closer. "You're not afraid of that?" Jack turned to her. "Are you?" Vaelra didn't answer. She felt her heart beat faster, something it hadn't done in years. She had always been alone, always strong. But now she had someone who understood the silence between screams. The next morning they walked toward the high ridge, an ancient place Vaelra had never shown anyone before. From the top you could see the stars during the day. "Why here?" Jack asked. "I come here when I forget who I am," she said. "The sky reminds me." Jack looked around. "It's beautiful." She handed him a stone, a crystal with red threads inside. "My mother gave this to me before she died." He held it gently. "Thank you." Suddenly a deep rumble rolled through the sky. Jack looked up. "That's not thunder." "No," Vaelra said, her voice tense. "That's a ship." They both turned toward the west. A light pierced the clouds, small but growing. "It's a human ship," Jack said. "They found me." Vaelra didn't smile. Jack looked at her. "What's wrong?" "If they find me with you, they may see me as a threat. They won't. I'll tell them everything. They won't listen. I am still a monster to their kind." Jack grabbed her hand. "Not to me." Her claws twitched, but she didn't pull away. The ship roared louder. A blue fire trail cut across the jungle as it descended toward the crash. "Sight." Jack held tight to her hand. "Then let's face them together." Vaelra stared at him. Something inside her shifted, something soft and sharp all at once. For years she had been marked by this planet. Now she was marked by something else. Hope. Trial by monster. The human rescue ship didn't land with grace. It slammed into the jungle with the sound of cracking trees and snapping stone. Smoke poured out from its damaged hull, and the ground shook like the planet itself was angry. Jack and Vaelra stood on the ridge, eyes locked on the chaos below. "They crashed," Jack said in shock. "Not a normal landing," Vaelra replied. "Something hunted them." Before Jack could respond, the jungle roared again, louder this time. Not from the ship, from something massive. Vaelra's eyes narrowed. "It followed them here." "What did?" "The Maw Father." Jack's breath caught. You said that was just a myth. I lied, she said calmly. Below, metal was ripped like paper. The hull of the ship burst open. A monstrous figure emerged from the trees. It was bigger than anything Jack had ever seen. 4 eyes, tusks like blades, and armored skin that shimmered with alien fluids. The Maw-Father, a true alpha predator of Virexa, something even Deathworlders avoided. Those men, they're still alive in there, Jack said. Valra nodded. Then we fight. Jack grabbed his spear. Valra picked up 2 bone blades carved from ancient beasts. They raced down the ridge together. Smoke stung Jack's eyes, but he saw the scene clearly. 2 human soldiers lay trapped beneath the wreckage. One was unconscious. The other screamed for help. The Maw-Father loomed over them, drooling thick acid, preparing to strike. Valra ran at full speed and leapt high, slashing across the beast's face. The blade scratched, but barely. It roared and spun around. Jack sprinted through the smoke, dodging falling metal, and pulled the soldier out from under the debris. Move, he shouted, dragging him away. The Maw-Father ignored the fleeing soldiers and charged Valra. She dodged left, but a massive tail slammed into her side. She flew back, crashing into a broken wing of the ship. Vale! Jack yelled. She groaned, blood dripping from her mouth. The monster charged toward her again, but this time Jack ran straight at it. He jumped and stabbed his spear deep into the side of its neck. It screamed and threw him off, but not before Jack yanked out a large spike. Of flesh and blood, he hit the ground hard. Everything spun. But then, he heard a growl, not from the Maw-Father, from Valra. She stood again, breathing heavy, eyes glowing gold. She moved like a storm, spinning around the beast, slashing and dodging. Her blades found weak points, under the arms, behind the knees. Then Jack joined her again. He had taken a metal rod and lit it on fire. Together, they attacked in rhythm, beast against beast. The Maw-Father screamed, bleeding now. Staggering, Valra jumped onto its back, plunging both blades into its spine. It reared up in pain, giving Jack the opening. He ran forward, leapt off a fallen tree, and drove the burning metal rod into its open mouth. Flames burst out its throat. The Maw-Father fell. Dead. Silence fell over the jungle again. Smoke drifted upward. The fire died down. Jack coughed and dropped to his knees. Valra limped toward him, covered in blood and soot. You okay? He asked, breathing hard. She looked at him. You fought like a true Deathworlder. He smiled, bloody and proud. So did you. The soldiers watched from the wreckage, stunned. One of them finally spoke. He saved us. The other added, and she saved him. Jack stood up, wrapping a torn cloth around his arm. This is Valra. She's not a threat. She's a warrior, like us. The captain stepped forward slowly, weapon lowered. You're saying that this creature helped you? Jack looked him dead in the eye. No, I'm saying she's the reason I'm alive. There was a long pause. No one spoke. No one moved. Then the captain nodded. We owe her thanks. And protection. Valra didn't respond. She looked at Jack, and for the first time she felt accepted, not just by the planet, but by people. The signal to the stars. The fire was gone. The monster was dead. But the real battle had just begun. The jungle around the crashed ship was quiet, but tension still hung in the air like smoke. Inside the broken command pod, Jack worked fast, his hands trembling but focused. Wires sparked. The transmitter was almost ready. Beside him, Valra sat still, eyes scanning the trees. The other soldiers had retreated to safety, afraid of her, unsure of what she was. Only Jack trusted her, and she only trusted him. This signal, Jack muttered. If I get it strong enough, someone in orbit might hear us. Valra didn't speak. Her mind was somewhere else. Will they come? She finally asked. Jack stopped. They might. And if they do, will they take you away? He looked at her. His voice was soft. Not without you. Valra stood and walked outside. She stared up at the stars, claws clenching. "You belong to a people," she said. "I do not." "That's not true," Jack replied, stepping out after her. "You belong to this planet, and now I do too." She turned to him. "You mean that?" Jack held up his hand. The same green root marks were spreading across his veins, proof that Virexa had claimed him. "Vilra, he said this planet didn't kill me. It made me stronger. Because I had someone beside me." She looked down. "I am not human. I don't understand your world." He smiled. "Good. Because I don't want the world I knew. I want the one we build." Inside the pod, the transmitter sparked to life. A faint blue light blinked. The message was simple. "Explorer Unit Jack Carter, alive. Need extraction. Coordinates attached. Not alone. Virexa is not uninhabited. We found something. Someone." Jack clicked, send. A loud hum filled the air. The antenna pulsed, sending the signal into the sky, and above the clouds, a satellite turned. Unknown to them, a ship in deep orbit picked up the pulse. Federation control lit up with alarms. Someone shouted, "We found him!" Another added, "But who's with him?" They zoomed in on the faint bioscan signature coming from the planet. "That's not human." Back on the surface, the jungle. Wind whispered through the trees. Jack sat beside Vilra. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, he said, "If they come, they may not understand you." "I know. They might try to take me back, separate us." "I know." Jack looked at her seriously. "Then we run. Together." Vilra smirked. "You could never outrun me." He laughed. "Then you'll have to carry me again." They both chuckled. But behind their smiles was a quiet truth. The world was about to change, and they would have to fight for what they had found. The next morning, the sky cracked open. A massive Federation ship descended slowly, its engines humming. Like thunderclouds, soldiers in heavy armor emerged, weapons ready. A science team followed, scanning the jungle with wide eyes. Jack walked toward them, calm and firm. Vilra stayed behind, half hidden in the trees. "Commander Hardened?" Jack asked. The lead officer nodded. "Welcome back, Carter. You survived. Longer than expected." Jack pointed behind him. "Because I wasn't alone." Vilra stepped forward slowly. All weapons turned toward her in an instant. Jack stood between them. "No. She's dangerous," one soldier said. "She's the reason I'm standing here," Jack replied. "She saved your men. She saved me. And she has more right to this ground than any of us." The commander stared at Vilra. "Is she intelligent?" Vilra's voice cut through the air. "More than you." Everyone froze. Jack smiled proudly. Commander Hardened finally lowered his weapon. "Then let's talk." Later, in the open field near the wreck, a small crowd gathered. Vilra didn't speak much. She didn't need to. Her scars told stories. Her presence demanded respect. When asked what she wanted, she said only, "I want peace, I want survival, and I want him." Everyone turned to Jack. He stepped beside her and took her hand. "I choose her," he said. "This Death Worlder is my partner now." Above them, the stars listened. And far beyond those stars, other eyes watched. Eyes that whispered, "Another Death Worlder walks among them. Not alien, not human, but something new." Together, the second Death Worlder. The Federation ship hovered above. Virexa for days like a silver moon with flashing lights. Drones buzzed across the jungle. Scientists came and went. But always, Jack and Vilra stayed together. They were no longer just survivors. They were symbols. The Federation wanted to study her. The biologists called her a unique evolutionary anomaly. The generals called her a potential weapon. The diplomats whispered about first contact protocols. But Jack only said one thing. She's not a subject. She's a person. She saved lives. and she deserves the choice to stay free. Biolra didn't speak during the meetings. She didn't need to. Her silence had power. One night, as a storm rolled over the jungle, Jack stood at the old ridge where they had first watched the sky. Biolra joined him. "They want you to return," she said quietly. Jack didn't look, away from the lightning. "They do." "You will go?" He turned to her. "Not without you." She hesitated. "Their world is not mine." "Then we'll make one of our own," he replied. She stared at him. "Even if the galaxy says we don't belong," Jack smiled, "we'll show them what Deathworlders are really made of." The next day, Commander Hardened made an announcement. "By special order of Earth Command and due to the survival record of Explorer Jack Carter, we offer full pardon, clearance, and integration rights to the entity known as Biolra." There were cheers, some confusion, some fear, but also respect. Jack stepped forward, holding her hand before everyone. "She's not just accepted," he said. "She's recognized, because she taught me something Earth forgot, that survival doesn't come from power. It comes from trust." Then something happened no one expected. Biolra spoke clearly, standing tall. "I am not human. I am not tool. I am Deathworlder, and I am not alone." Her voice echoed across the jungle. In that moment, satellites around, Virexa picked up 2 life signals with identical energy patterns, the same rare survival signature only known from the deadliest planets. One was hers. The other was Jack's. He had changed, fully. His body, his cells, his instincts. Virexa had made him its own. He was no longer just a man. He was the second Deathworlder. Months passed. The jungle began to bloom in strange new ways. Virexa seemed to accept the presence of humans now. Research teams came with care, not force, and the old predators stayed far away from one place, the shared home of Jack and Biolra. They built a shelter together near the stream, between the cliffs and firewood groves. Simple, strong, balanced. Every now and then they would climb the ridge just like before, and watch the stars. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Biolra asked. "Sometimes," Jack said. "But I don't miss who I was there." She leaned on his shoulder. "You were soft." He laughed. "Thanks. But now," she said softly, "you are something else." They stood in silence. Then Biolra whispered, "We should find the others." Jack blinked. "Others?" She nodded. "My people, if I survived. Maybe more did. And maybe there are others like me," Jack added. "Other humans ready to adapt, to grow." They looked at each other. A shared mission began in that moment, not to return to the stars, but to change them. Years later, a legend spread across deep space. A human and an alien, both born of fire and blood, traveling from world to world. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as Deathworlders, teaching others how to survive, how to trust and how to fight together. They weren't alone anymore. They had each other and the galaxy. We would never forget them.